Hi everybody, welcome back. I hope you all had a great week. I had a good week, ups and downs, but overall a good week. And I was deciding what to talk about today, and I thought, let's talk about something that's really affecting me this week. And what's affecting me this week is with things that I deal with Ben, knowing whether it's mental health or addiction. That's been my struggle. So I thought I'm going to talk about concurrent disorder. Now, concurrent disorder is a person with both a mental health disorder and a substance abuse disorder. Or sometimes I go back and forth calling it mental health disorder with mental illness, mental health issue. It's the same thing in what I'm speaking of. And a substance abuse disorder is addiction. It's probably better to call it a substance abuse disorder because addiction gives it the negative connotation, so I'll try, but it's a habit that I've formed over the years. And anyway, I digress. Substance abuse disorder is both mental illness and addiction. They're independent problems that interact with each other. How do I explain this? You have, it can begin at any time. Concurrent disorder can begin at any time. So if there's a person with mental illness, addiction may come later because they might want to try to feel better, but there's studies that show that a high percentage, 40 to 60% of mental health people with mental health issues or disorder or illness develop addiction. So you could have mental illness first, and then it develops, addiction develops from there. Or if you are an addict or someone with substance abuse disorder, you could also develop mental illness. So things can come out the mental, if there's a possibility that, what's the word I'm looking for? It's, cat's got my tongue. You could have an addiction problem and it could develop into a mental health issue. So, but then also you can develop both at the same time due to trauma. So concurrent disorder is mental illness and addiction together. You could have one or the other first, and it could also develop into the other. Does that make sense? So the thing is, substance abuse exasperates any mental illness, and I've seen that with Ben. Ben has a concurrent disorder. So that's what we've been dealing with. What came first, I believe, with Ben, it was mental health issues from way back. And that's what I see happen to him. It developed into addiction. You struggle, you try to find something that makes you feel good, and that's what happens. So that's where it brings us to today. And there's studies that, I think it was Health Canada says that there are 435,000 adults in Canada with concurrent disorder. That's 2% of all Canadians. So that's a huge number. How do you treat someone with concurrent disorder? That's a tough one. As you know, we've been struggling with help for over years. Do you treat it separately or do you treat it together? In Ben's case, we are kind of doing both. Ben has an addiction counselor and he has a mental health counselor, and he meets with them individually at different times every week, which is good. And to bring them together, I'm basically the conduit that brings them together because his addiction counselor and mental health counselor work for two different affiliations. And they also communicate together, which is good. You need that. And so I am one to do my emails. I think I've mentioned that before. And I try to update them weekly with what's going on with Ben, because I believe knowledge is power and it helps them to help Ben. And I got to say, they have also counseled me when I've struggled. And this week I was talking to one of his counselors, and I was saying, I'm having a hard time figuring out when Ben is going through something, is it the addiction that's talking, or is it the mental health part of it? It's really tough. But that being said, I know that I'm doing everything that I can to help Ben, and communicating his issues with his workers is one. Seeing a counselor myself every once in a while is another. And being consistent with Ben. Consistency works. And you know what? That works with raising children. That includes my boundaries, what I will deal with Ben, what I won't engage in. I know I did a video a couple weeks ago. Sometimes I fall off the wagon and I engage, but then I bring myself right back. So that really helps in all of this. Because I need to keep my mental health in check. I need to feel good about what I'm doing. It goes back to the old saying, put that oxygen mask on yourself. Otherwise, you're not good for anybody. You're not good. You won't be able to help your own children. So, I have been dealing with Ben and his concurrent disorder for many years, and this week was a bit of a struggle because I think I was starting to get in my head trying to figure out, is that the mental illness or is that the addiction? So really it doesn't matter. I treat Ben like a human being. I try to show him the value he has to me and people around him. Some of the things that went on this week were triggers. Somebody might say something, it would trigger something, and then it would escalate out of control. And then when he'd come down, he would start to feel bad about himself because he feels like he's wrong all the time. It's a roller coaster. And the good thing is that I am a constant in his life, in that I speak to him a few times a day. And I'm able to talk him through it. So what we do between Ben and I is come up with techniques to help him when he is in these states. So how do you treat concurrent disorder? Get help for both addiction and mental illness, and be there for them. And if they know that you're there, they have someone to call when they're having a moment or a episode or whatever you want to call it, and keep each other informed, because like I said, knowledge is power. Another thing is, when I am talking him down, I'm really careful what I say to him, because sometimes he'll say things that are really out there and really not correct. I'm able to gauge what state he's in, and I've said this before, do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? So when you're speaking to someone that might be having an episode, whether it's because of a mental health issue or substance abuse, don't try to be right all the time. You want to, and it's not like you have to agree with them either. There's that fine line with what you say. So just be aware of your words, be aware of what you're saying. Don't be accusatory. None of that "I told you so" stuff. That never works. That never works for me. Don't be coming to me and say "I told you so." I mean, we're human beings. We don't like to be told that they were wrong. I guess I'm just trying to say, be sensitive when talking to the person. You don't need to be right all the time, but you want to be effective. And my way of being effective is listening to Ben, working on techniques. Sometimes he'll get in his head and he'll, I was saying how you tell stories to yourself. Well, his stories get bigger and bigger and bigger. And so now we talk about melting the snowball, because what happens is he has a little snowball as it's going down the hill and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So now we actually visualize, let's melt that snowball so that it doesn't get out there. And what also helps is meds. Like if you do have an issue, hopefully you've gone to a doctor, and there are PRNs where there are meds that are as needed. If you feel like you're going to have an anxiety attack or something, it's there for you. So I hope I explained what concurrent disorder is. There is hope, because where there is breath, there is hope. There are agencies out there that can help you. And that's about it. So let's keep talking. Let's, keep educating ourselves so we can remove the stigma when it comes to mental illness and addiction. That was my week. It's exhausting, I gotta tell you, but at the same time, I will take care of me because I need good mental health so I can help Ben with his issues so he could continue to have the wonderful spirit to live. Let's continue living with that spirit. I wish you all a great week. Be safe, be smart. Take care of yourself. Until next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.